Margaret Mitchell was born on November 8, 1900, in Atlanta, Georgia, into a family deeply rooted in Southern history and culture. Her father, Eugene Muse Mitchell, was a prominent attorney and historian, while her mother, Mary Isabel Mitchell, was a suffragist and advocate for women's rights. Growing up in an environment filled with discussions about history and literature, Mitchell developed an intense fascination with storytelling from an early age. Mitchell attended the Washington Seminary in Atlanta and later enrolled at Smith College in Massachusetts in 1918. However, following the sudden death of her mother due to the Spanish flu pandemic, she returned home to take care of her family. In 1922, she began working as a journalist for the Atlanta Journal-Sunday magazine, where she wrote articles on a variety of topics, showcasing her talent for writing and storytelling. Dramatic twists marked Mitchell's personal life. In 1922, she married Barry Upshaw, but the marriage was short-lived due to his abusive behavior and struggles with alcoholism. After their divorce, she married John Robert Marsh in 1925, a relationship that provided her with stability and support. It was during her marriage to Marsh that she began writing her famous novel, Gone with the Wind. Her works. Margaret Mitchell is best known for her only novel, Gone with the Wind, published in 1936. The novel is a sweeping historical romance set during the American Civil War and Reconstruction era. It follows the life of Scarlett O'Hara, a strong-willed Southern belle who navigates love, loss, and survival in a war-torn South. The novel became an instant success, selling over 1 million copies within the first 6 months of its release. It won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1937 and was later adapted into the famous 1939 film starring Vivien Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara and Clark Gable as Rhett Butler. The film further cemented Mitchell's status as a literary icon. Despite her literary success, Mitchell never wrote another novel. She was overwhelmed by the fame and the legal battles over copyright and adaptations. Additionally, she suffered from declining health and focused on charitable endeavors instead of producing more literary works. Anecdotes. Mitchell's path to writing Gone with the Wind was somewhat accidental. While recovering from an ankle injury in the late 1920s, she found herself confined to her home with limited entertainment. Her husband, John Marsh, who had grown tired of bringing her books to read, reportedly suggested she write her own. Taking his advice, she began drafting the novel in secret, initially treating it as a personal project rather than a work for publication. Another interesting anecdote involves the novel's manuscript. Mitchell was known to be highly private about her writing. She had no intention of publishing Gone with the Wind until an editor from Macmillan, Harold Latham, visited Atlanta in 1935, searching for new literary talent. A friend of Mitchell's, knowing about her manuscript, persuaded her to submit it. Initially hesitant, Mitchell handed Latham a disorganized stack of papers, not expecting much to come from it. However, the editor recognized its potential, and with revisions, it was soon published to critical and commercial acclaim. Mitchell's deep attachment to the characters in Gone with the Wind also manifested in her correspondence with fans. She often answered letters personally, explaining her choices in character development and historical accuracy. Her favorite character was reportedly Melanie, whom she admired for her quiet strength and moral integrity. Controversies. Despite its success, Gone with the Wind and its author have faced criticism and controversy. One of the primary criticisms of the novel is its portrayal of the American South during the Civil War and the Reconstruction era. Many scholars and readers argue that the book romanticizes the antebellum South, presents a sympathetic view of the Confederacy, and downplays the horrors of slavery. Additionally, the novel has been criticized for its depiction of African American characters, who are often portrayed in stereotypical roles. The character of Mammy, for example, is seen as reinforcing the happy slave trope, which many argue is a distortion of historical realities. These depictions have led to debates about the book's place in modern literary studies and whether it should continue to be taught or adapted in contemporary contexts. Mitchell herself held complex and sometimes contradictory views on race. While she was known to have contributed to scholarships for Black medical students later in life, she also grew up in a society that largely accepted segregation and the lost cause narrative of the Civil War. Some historians argue that her personal beliefs were shaped by the cultural and historical context in which she lived, making it difficult to categorize her stance definitively. Conclusion: Margaret Mitchell remains one of the most significant figures in American literature, despite having published only one novel. Gone with the Wind remains a subject of both admiration and controversy, reflecting the complexities of the history it portrays. Mitchell's life, marked by triumphs and challenges, is a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring impact of literature. Whether one views Gone with the Wind as a romantic epic or a problematic historical narrative, its influence on American culture is undeniable, ensuring that Margaret Mitchell's name remains prominent in literary history.